beginning, I mean, it was all very light, light music in terms of the lyrics. The depth of it was very, very lighthearted. You know, really sweet.
And the look.
And the look was also, it also matched that sound. You know, the look was very innocent. And the second album was kind of the same, but we started making, you know, different type of songs and trying new things. And the third album was just, it was finally where I felt the most confident to just take over, and I just wanted to get out of doing the typical long, beautiful hair that's brown or blonde. I just wanted something that was just completely different. I wanted people to notice Rihanna as a different artist and not just, I didn't want to get hidden within the pack, and I wanted to stand out. And I knew the only way that I could do that is by being myself, being true to myself, expressing myself truthfully, whether it's the look or the sound of the music. It all changed then. And then from there, we just started having fun. Every time I made an album since Good Girl Gone Bad, it's just been whatever was in my body at that moment, whatever I was feeling, whatever mood I was in, that's always what you'll get.
2010 was the beginning of a sort of resurgence for a certain singer named Rihanna. Now, Rihanna truly is a one-of-a-kind artist. I've said it before, but you really can't comprehend just how ever-present Rihanna was in the pop music sphere during her 10-year-long reign in pop. Out of the gate with her first 2 albums, she had a #1 hit with SOS, as well as 3 top 10 hits with Ponder Replay, Unfaithful, and Break It Off. Her major breakthrough came with 2007's Good Girl Gone Bad, which scored her 3 more #1s with Umbrella, Take a Bow, and Disturbia, as well as 2 more top 10 hits with Hate That I Love You and Don't Stop the Music. Rihanna's 4th studio album, 2009's Rated R, was another pivotal release in her still rapidly growing career at the time, but for far different reasons than Good Girl Gone Bad. Conceived after Rihanna's assault by then-boyfriend Chris Brown, Rated R could be best described as an angry, dark, foreboding pop record that explores pain in its many forms such as rage, sadness, apathy, bravado, and regret. Rihanna's discography is one that honestly should be studied by all, as she never really had a quote-unquote flop era. I hate that word, but anyways, the point is, when you look back at Rihanna's track record, she really didn't have an era where she didn't have at least one hit. If you had to scrutinize and find one low point, I would point to Rated R, but even that album had a rather unexpected smash hit. At the top of 2010, Rude Boy was issued as the 4th single from Rated R, becoming Rihanna's 6th #1 single and one of her most well-known hits. As the Rated R era began to wind down, Rihanna's Last Girl on Earth tour was still in full effect. However, despite still touring for Rated R, production for her next album was still very much underway. It's worth mentioning that Rihanna was recording an album, touring, and filming a movie simultaneously over the course of the year. And that's not to mention providing guest vocals for one of the biggest songs of the year.
I've always thought, you know, Rihanna was super talented. I mean, ever since she's come out, I feel like she's got a really distinctive voice, you know, and as soon as you hear a record, you know it's her. And I think that, you know, she's a great singer. I really respect her and what she's done throughout, you know, her career or whatever. So I kind of wrote the record with, you know, with her in mind. I kind of wanted to explore with this record, like, you know, tumultuous relationships, and I think that, you know, on some level, everybody can relate to turmoil in relationships, and I kind of just wanted to explore that.
When y'all first collaborated, what did you think about working with him?
Well, that's the first thing I thought. I was like, what? Eminem wants to do a song with a pop artist like me? Because, you know, he always raps and talks shit about pop artists, pop girl, female artists. So it was more of a shock to me than anything. And then that was the first thought. The second thought was, of course I'll do a song with Eminem. Like, that's just something that doesn't come around every day, you know? And then thirdly, I heard the song and I just loved it. I mean, it was a hit, but I didn't know how intense the song would be to people. I didn't expect people to connect with that song the way they did. It was really, really incredible to see.
In June 2010, Rihanna would team up with Eminem on the song Love the Way You Lie, which served as the second single from the latter's 7th studio album, Recovery. Backed by guitar, piano, and violin, the track is a mid-tempo hip-hop ballad with a pop refrain sung by Rihanna and describes two lovers who refuse to separate despite being in an abusive relationship. Eminem personally picked Rihanna to sing the chorus, and Rihanna accepted as the theme of domestic violence resonated with her. The two artists bonded over their shared past of toxic relationships. A key song for both artists, Love the Way You Lie remains among the best and most well-received tracks of 2010 and of Eminem's and Rihanna's careers. It also helped push Eminem into a new arc of his own career as he became a force on the charts during this era. It is Eminem's best-selling single and ranked #1 on several record charts, including the US Billboard Hot 100 for 7 weeks. It hit #1 in an astounding 22 countries. The single sold over 12 million copies in the US and 1.5 million in the UK.
We finally just got a new mic. It's now like 2 o'clock in the morning. We just got a mic, so we're now gonna start recording. I gotta get naked. Oh, I gotta get dressed, but I have to get naked to get dressed.
Most successful artist, her new CD is entitled Loud. Please welcome back to the program, Rihanna, ladies and gentlemen.
I love it.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Really good, actually. I've been really busy, but for great cause, you know. The results are paying off. You know, Only Girl is the first single of the new album, and it's doing really well. And we have a brand new album coming out, so there's a lot of work happening right now.
Listen, we got to talk further about the album, but first, I'm going to mention your hair, girl. Check out your hair.
Thank you.
It's fiery.
Yeah, it's loud.
How does it make you feel? I mean, do you feel different? Do you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, my hair?
It's really liberating. I mean, it really is, because it's something so bold, and it really, you have to be fearless to do something like this.
You certainly are fearless. So, is this kind of like a new Rihanna with a new look?
It's definitely a new look, and I would say Rihanna, I just keep evolving, you know? I keep growing. I want to keep getting better, so hopefully every time it's different, but for the better. It symbolizes all the energy that went into this album. We just had such a great time. We were making it on tour, so it was all about music, and I only listen to my music loud, and if it feels good that way, then it's gonna feel good to the fans. And I remember when I was making this on the bus, the name really made sense because it symbolizes fun, fearlessness, and sassiness, which is all the ingredients to Loud.
Rihanna's 5th studio album, Loud, is a resounding gem in her discography, a quintessential perfect pop album if you've ever seen one, as well as being a perfect example of a well-executed pop music era. Distinctive look and theme, smash hit singles, a cohesive record that is also diverse with its sound, I could go on and on. The success of Rude Boy earlier in the year served as a sort of inspiration for the direction that Rihanna took with this album. Rude Boy being the most successful single from Rated R was a clear sign of what the public wanted from Rihanna at the time. 2010 pop music was undoubtedly dominated by the hurricane that was Katy Perry's Teenage Dream, but Loud possesses just as much pop excellence in my opinion. The dark and foreboding theme of Rated R was ditched in favor of a bubblier, up-tempo, and optimistic sound reminiscent of her first 2 albums. The goal was always to return to a brighter aesthetic and style for the follow-up to Rated R, but Rihanna expressed that she didn't want to simply remake Good Girl Gone Bad or her first 2 albums. And it's evident in the album's sound, which is fun and up-tempo, but possesses a level of maturity and self-assuredness that was absent from her first 3 albums. Approximately 200 songs were recorded for Loud, but only 11 would make the final cut. Just a handful of the talent that contributed to songwriting and production for the record included Tayo Cruz, Alex the Kid, Sean Garrett, Neo, Timbaland, David Guetta, Eminem, Drake, and Nicki Minaj. The smash hit DJ Got Us Falling in Love was actually written for Rihanna for inclusion on Loud, but the song was rejected and subsequently sent to Usher. Loud was somewhat born out of frustration that Rihanna felt, as well as a desire to distinguish herself from her contemporaries. She didn't want to make music that would sound no different if Kesha, Lady Gaga, or Katy Perry made it.
You could definitely, overall, I would say the album is the most true Rihanna album in terms of the sound and the energy and the look, the vibe of it, the lyrics, the West Indian twang in there. Everything about it is just tailored to me, and nobody else could have done any of those songs, which is why I love it, because you hear it and you get it, and I love it.
Aesthetically, the Loud era ditches the darker visuals and styles that characterized Rated R in favor of brighter, warmer colors for the visuals and promotional photography. Rihanna's style became far more girly and fun as opposed to the fashion of Rated R, which boasted all black, sharp edges, leather, and black eye makeup. Loud was all about brightness and color, most evident with her new bright red hair. It's a personal favorite era of Rihanna's for me, based off the looks alone. Only Girl in the World was a lead single from Loud, released on September 10th, 2010. Produced by Stargate, the song marked a shift from the darker, moodier themes of Rated R to a more vibrant, up-tempo sound. Rihanna specifically requested high-energy, feel-good music for Loud, and Only Girl in the World was the first track created for the project. Musically, the song blends dance pop and Eurodance, featuring a driving bass line and soaring synthesizers. Commercially, Only Girl in the World was a massive success. It topped the Billboard Hot 100 2 weeks after Loud's second single, What's My Name, had already reached #1, marking the first time in chart history that a lead single hit #1 after the album's second single. It became Rihanna's 9th #1 hit in the US and her 4th in 2010 alone, making her the first artist since Usher in 2004 to achieve 4 #1 singles in a single year. The music video, featuring Rihanna alone in an expansive landscape, visually reinforces the song's theme of wanting to feel like the only girl in the world. The visuals for Only Girl in the World were a clear depiction of the direction that Rihanna wanted to go with the Loud era. Only Girl in the World will go on to win Best Dance Electronic Recording in 2011 at the Grammys, cementing its place as one of Rihanna's most iconic and commercially successful singles. What's My Name, featuring Drake, served as the second official single from Loud, being released on October 25th worldwide, except for Germany, who for some reason didn't get the single release until that following January. Yet another one of Rihanna's most iconic singles, best known for its "Oh Na Na" refrain. It's an electropop-infused R&B song, a specific blend that Rihanna became known for during this period of her career. A very youthful, playful, and melodic track, Drake's verse was actually intended to be for a remix of the song, while the album version would have been a solo cut. What's My Name topped the US Billboard Hot 100, giving Rihanna her third #1 single in 2010, although technically it's her fourth, as Only Girl also went #1, but as I mentioned before, it didn't top the chart until after What's My Name. In the midst of Loud's first two singles taking the world and charts by storm, Rihanna would make a guest appearance on the David Guetta song, Who's That Chick, which was released in Europe as a single on November 22nd, 2010. David was asked to produce a few songs for inclusion on Loud, and Who's That Chick was one of the songs created for the album. However, it ultimately did not make the final cut. The song was instead included on the reissue of his album One Love, titled One More Love. Oddly enough, label executives asked European radio stations to remove Who's That Chick from their playlist due to the sheer amount of Rihanna songs in rotation at the time. Her two current singles, Only Girl and What's My Name, as well as Love the Way You Lie, which had been in heavy rotation all year, and Rude Boy, which despite being from the previous album cycle, was still a popular smash hit regardless. Due to how Rihanna's Loud was released at the same time as Guetta's album, label executives asked radio stations to favor her songs instead.
And the American Music Award goes to...
Pink Friday is in stores tomorrow. Give it up for Pink Friday, you guys!
Yeah!
Go on.
Okay, so I'll continue. Rihanna.
Don't we all wish we could have green hair and make it look good like Nicki? Wow, this is amazing.
Okay, so there's been a lot of talk online about tracks that might be on the album as well. So can we clear up some rumors? Yeah, I think we should. So Nicki Minaj features on a track called Raining Men.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's a fun song. It's like a upbeat kind of song, but the title just speaks for itself. And Nicki, of course, with her crazy raps and melodies, she's nuts, and of course she does her thing on it. It's totally Nicki.
Back in the United States, Raining Men featuring Nicki Minaj was pushed to American radio as the third single from Loud, an often overlooked entry in Rihanna's catalog despite having two of the hottest women in 2010's music collaborating for the first time. Raining Men is a fun, up-tempo, bouncy track. Due to being a radio-only release, the song didn't receive much push nor music video. It peaked at number 11 on the Bubbling Under Hot 100, making this only the third song in Rihanna's then 5-year-long career to fail to reach the Hot 100 after We Ride and Wait Your Turn. Rihanna will return the favor by appearing on Nicki's song Fly from her debut album Pink Friday, which was released just 10 days after Loud. Fly wouldn't receive a proper single release until the following year. Rihanna would also provide guest vocals on Kanye West's All of the Lights, which served as a fourth single from his critically acclaimed album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. The song itself features contributions from a multitude of artists like Fergie, Charlie Wilson, and Alicia Keys. All of the Lights fits into the same category as previous features Rihanna had done, like Live Your Life and Run This Town, which are arguably more known for her contributions than anything else. She really was the go-to girl for a good hook for the longest time. Every song Rihanna hopped on became hers, more or less.
S&M is actually, the title is just the title, but the song is really actually one of the most fun records on the album. It's one of the loudest. It's really in your face. Oh, I love that song. Mm-hmm. When I first heard it, it was a demo and it was rough and some of it was done, but I knew what it was the minute I heard it. And the energy in that song is so rebellious, in your face, unapologetic, and that's what I loved about it. There was no turning back from that song, and the lyrics really make sense to the way I feel, and it's a metaphorical song. It's really not about sex, and it's not about anything S&M, but we play off of that, and it's in a really metaphorical sense, but you'll see it in the video. The video will have a better explanation.
The fourth single from Loud would be the delightfully raunchy S&M in January of 2011, an up-tempo and high-energy Eurodance track. S&M, short for sadomasochism, is a derivation of pleasure from acts of respectively inflicting or receiving pain or humiliation. The song playfully utilizes its themes of bondage and applies it to a much bigger metaphor that's explored in the song's music video. Although the Loud era was a much brighter and warmer era compared to Rated R and even Good Girl Gone Bad to a degree, this era was very much the beginning of Rihanna's evolution into a certified bad girl. S&M served as her reaction to the media's abuse towards her when she changed to a more provocative style. Rihanna acknowledges the response to the media saying she's quote-unquote bad, and she agrees, but she says that she's good at being bad and plans to be herself no matter how the world perceives her. Rihanna herself has stated that the song is about having confidence in one's identity and being impervious to criticism. The overall message of S&M calls back to Madonna's 1994 song, Human Nature, which saw Madonna lashing out at media in a similar manner due to them criticizing her for her own sexuality. In the United Kingdom, S&M was actually deemed too explicit for daytime airplay. It was heavily edited to remove references to sex, chains, and whips, and was renamed Come On. The music video doubled down the song's concept, being inspired by Rihanna's then sadomasochistic relationship with the public. It was almost immediately banned in 11 countries due to its overtly sexual content. It was flagged and age restricted on YouTube for having mature content, although the restriction has since been lifted. Speaking from experience, I had to jump through hoops to find this video online when it first came out, and channels like MTV and VH1 barely played it. After S&M hit number 2 on the Hot 100, the Britney Spears assisted remix was released in April 2011. With the help of the remix, S&M rose to the top spot, becoming the third #1 single from Loud, as well as Rihanna's 10th and Britney's 5th #1 single. This made Rihanna the youngest recording artist to accumulate 10 top 10 singles in the shortest period of time, surpassing Mariah Carey. The fifth and sixth singles from Loud were Man Down and California King Bed. Man Down was heavily inspired by Bob Marley's 1973 song I Shot the Sheriff, and the song's producers set out to create a song which embodied the same feel, but from a female perspective. Man Down is a reggae song that also incorporates elements of electronic music. Lyrically, Rihanna sings about being a fugitive after she shoots a man, an action she later regrets. Man Down is undoubtedly a highlight of not only Loud, but Rihanna's entire catalog, showing that while she can effortlessly thrive in almost any genre, her native island sound is where she always steals the show. While the song only reached number 59 in the United States, it was a #1 single in France. Similar to S&M, the music video for Man Down caused more controversy for Rihanna. This time, critics criticized Rihanna shooting a man in response to the man taking advantage of her, as many felt it was wrong for her to suggest that murder is an acceptable form of justice. California King Bed stands on the opposite side of the spectrum from Man Down, being a tender, rock-tinged R&B power ballad that talks about distance felt between two lovers and the inevitable end of the relationship. Like Man Down, California King Bed fared better overseas in Europe, hitting the top 5 in several European countries while it reached the top 40 in the United States. Rihanna notably performed the song alongside Sugarland lead vocalist Jennifer Nettles at the ACM Awards on April 3, 2011. The seventh and final single from Loud was Cheers, Drink to That. A chill party song, I always felt that this was the perfect ending to the era as it felt like a celebration. Cheers, Drink to That reached #1 in Lebanon, the top 10 in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the United States, and the top 40 in Ireland, Slovakia, and the United Kingdom. Aside from the impressive 7-single run of Loud, there still remain 4 album cuts that are all standouts in their own right. Fading is the 4th track on the album and is a floaty pop and R&B track. One of Rihanna's best deep cuts in my opinion. It was briefly considered to be the 5th single from the record, but lost to Man Down. Complicated is admittedly my least favorite from this record, being by far the least remarkable song here. Out of the entire album, one is always going to be the weakest, but I have a hard time believing that out of 200 songs, Complicated would be one of the 11 chosen, but I digress. Skin is one of Rihanna's greatest album cuts by far, a sexy, sultry, Janet Jackson-esque cut that's arguably the nastiest that she gets on the entire album, not counting S&M. And the finale of Loud is none other than a sequel to Love the Way You Lie, simply titled Love the Way You Lie Part 2. As if it wasn't enough to have one of the biggest songs of the year, Eminem and Rihanna would join forces again for the 2nd time in that year for the follow-up to their mega smash hit. This time, however, Rihanna takes the lead as the song is told from her perspective while Eminem delivers a guest verse. Following the release and commercial success of Love the Way You Lie in 2010, Eminem wanted to record an alternative version with Rihanna as a lead vocalist, viewing aspects of a relationship from a female perspective, unlike the original, which featured Eminem as a lead vocalist and was from a male perspective. Rihanna was initially against the idea as she felt the song didn't need a sequel and that it would inevitably pale in comparison to the original, but after she heard the demo, she changed her mind. Love the Way You Lie Part 2 is admittedly a pretty somber way to end an album that boasts a more colorful and fun Rihanna, but nonetheless, it's a fantastic album cut.
Justin Bieber!
Here's an amazing group of talented women, the finalists for Female Artist of the Year. Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, Kesha, Rihanna, Lady Gaga. And the Female Artist of the Year is Rihanna!
I just have to say that Justin Bieber, give me my award. I'm so cool. I want to thank everyone I thanked before and a couple more that I forgot. I want to thank my family in Barbados. I love you, Mom, Dad, I love you. My bros, I miss you and I love you. I want to thank Barry and Steve Bartles. Barry, welcome to the Def Jam family. This has been going great so far, and I'm really excited. I want to thank my fans again. Rihanna Navy, this is yours!
Rihanna's Loud was yet another commercial success. It debuted at number 3 on the US Billboard 200 chart, being the highest first week sales for her career at the time. Loud was the 8th global best-selling album of 2011. Since its release, it has sold over 8 million copies worldwide. In addition to the Grammy that Only Girl in the World won, the album was nominated for 3 more awards, including Album of the Year. Loud was really the beginning of a sort of soft reset for Rihanna, as she continued to grow and become far more unapologetic about how she presented herself to the world. Loud was a happy medium between the old and the new, and Rihanna's I Don't Give a F attitude would come to fully blossom in her next 2 eras. A re-release seemed imminent as the era had been so successful. However, the planned reissue eventually evolved into what we now know as 2011's Talk That Talk. I feel the same way about Rihanna that I feel about other veterans like Beyonce and Mariah Carey, and that they've been everywhere and done everything, and so I understand that they don't feel the need to do too much these days. But I'd always found Rihanna's schedule during her peak to be the most intriguing thing. To put the period of 2010 to 2012 into perspective for Rihanna, she embarked on the Last Girl on Earth tour in support of Rated R in 2010. That tour ran from April 16th, 2010 to March 12th, 2011. Loud was recorded in full during this tour, and somehow in the midst of doing that, Rihanna was also filming Battleship at the time. Loud was released in November 2010, but as I mentioned before, the Last Girl on Earth tour ran until March 2011, which meant Rihanna was in a completely new album cycle while still touring for her previous album. The last leg of the tour even had her performing songs from Loud, and I haven't even mentioned the multitude of TV appearances and award show performances that she did in just the last few months of 2010 in support of Loud while still doing all the aforementioned. But if that isn't crazy enough, just 3 months after wrapping the Last Girl on Earth tour, Rihanna set out on the Loud tour, which ran from June to December of 2011. Now, a tour is not something that could be thrown together in a short span of time. Assuming the tour took longer than the 3-month gap to pull together, this basically means that this woman was actively touring for one album while recording, releasing, and promoting the next album, and quite possibly rehearsing for her next tour while still on the road. I say all of this to drive home the point that oftentimes the world looks at pop stars, specifically females, and assume that they don't put in much work, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. When I tell you that Rihanna was everywhere during this period, I mean it. I've said it before, but Rihanna albums were like birthdays and Christmas, but when you break down the eras themselves, this woman really had no time to breathe at all. She may not be a powerhouse vocalist or the world's most technical dancer, but Rihanna was and still is an icon and a pop music juggernaut that reigned over the mainstream in a way that hadn't been seen since the days of Janet, Madonna, and Mariah, all artists that heavily influenced Rihanna. Loud is a very special album to me, a comfort album. It's very easy to listen to, seamless, varied in its sound, possesses a beautiful visual aesthetic, and contains some of music's biggest hits of the last 20 years. On a subjective level, this is my favorite Rihanna album, and I would argue that it's her third best record behind Unapologetic and Anti. Aside from that, this was truly the first time that I'd experienced an album era in real time, and that's not something I feel we have anymore. I was there for every single announcement, every award show appearance, every music video premiere. I remember getting the album for Christmas in 2010 and having so much fun playing it over and over and speculating which song Rihanna would make the next single. And once again, the hair. My God, the red hair. It just pleases me so much to look at it. It's a rush of dopamine mixed with nostalgia that just can't be replicated. The Loud era is a relic of a time where pop music eras were 1 to 2 year-long events that sought to let the entire body of work breathe. And honestly, this was the last time we'd get a fully fleshed out era from Rihanna, as every album after this would either only have 3 to 4 singles or multiple singles, but with only 2 to 3 visuals. And that's understandable. As Rihanna continued to ascend from pop star status to icon status, not nearly as much push was needed. Her name alone was enough. Above all else, Loud was and still is a perfect pop album to me in nearly every aspect. A key release in 2010's pop, and yet another reason why Rihanna is one of the greatest pop stars to ever walk the earth.